I am Dorothy Carskadden. I was a captain in the U.S. Army Reserves. I served in Desert Storm in the U.S. Army. I was shot 4 times at Fort Hood on my way to Afghanistan, so I didn't quite get there. I came into the military through the Portland State ROTC program. I was originally in the Oregon National Guard, and when they sent me off to do my basic training as a field medical officer, which is basically an admin officer for medical services, I went to Fort Sam Houston, Texas. While I was there, I was picked up for active duty and got my dream duty station, which was Germany. So I was stationed at Monteith Barracks, which is near Fürth, Germany. I was a lieutenant. I was an ambulance platoon leader, maintenance officer, and the dining facility officer all at the same time. While there, we were activated for Operation Desert Shield. We left Germany, which was full of snow, and arrived in Saudi Arabia in 95-degree weather. We stayed in Saudi Arabia for about 70 days, and they put me on what was called the Pony Express. They took teams of 4, 8 teams of 4, to run supply lines all the way up to the front lines. My team was stationed with a 40-foot antenna about 25 miles into Iraq, and our job was to be the communication link between the front lines and the rear lines to ensure that supplies got up to the front. And so the 1st Armored Division did not run out of fuel or food for the soldiers that were on the front lines. Then I was stationed at Eisenhower Army Medical Center, where I was the administrator for the Department of Psychiatry and Neurology. In 1994, I was rifted out of the Army, which meant that after Desert Storm they were doing a drawdown, and I got drawn down. So on Friday, I was a lieutenant in the Army. On Monday, I was in the exact same position because I was hired back at the, as a Department of the Army civilian. So on Monday, I was in the exact same position with the exact same pay, but now I was a civilian. Went into the reserves at that point. Because I had my master's in social work, I wanted to use my degree. So in 1997, I was hired on at the Rockford Vet Center outstation. So I left the reserves at that point. And in 2008, I decided that it was time for me to go back into the military as a social worker. And so I was assigned to a combat stress control unit, the 467th Medical Detachment. And while there, I was activated for deployment to Afghanistan. We had been at Fort Hood for less than 24 hours. When you are in the military and about ready to deploy, you have to go through legal documents, the finance documents, getting your dog tags, getting your medical checks, getting your dental checks, everything. I had all my vaccinations, and I went into the Soldier Readiness Center. In this front center were about 70 soldiers. And I'm like, oh, you know, I thought I had gotten through early, not early enough. So I had to go to another hallway, so I'm not able to see anything other than the 3 seats next to me. I hear a scream. All of a sudden, someone said, get down, get down. So because we have just got through with our combat training, your reactions are pretty quick, and I got down on the floor. I looked over, and there was a woman crying, a soldier crying, so I went over to talk to her. Unfortunately, she died. And then folks were coming into my section, so I tried to get out of the way, went into an open area where all of a sudden my leg went numb. Turns out I was shot twice in the hip. Once shattered my pelvic bone, and 1 bullet is still in my leg. Then I got shot in the stomach, and I said, I'm through with this training exercise. Because it never dawned on me that this wasn't anything except a training exercise, and I was getting shot with rubber bullets and with paintball pellets, because the only blood I ever saw was this little dot on my hip. All the bullets went in, nothing came out, so there wasn't a lot of blood. I was very blessed because the actual first shot was when I was getting down on the ground, I got a graze to the head. They picked me up and helped me get out to another section of the building where my commander came with another person. They picked me up and helped me walk out. Up to this moment, it was just an absolutely astounding vision to watch the military when they go into action. Because all of a sudden, do your training, triage, triage. And you had all these folks, boom, right into place. Staff Sergeant Clark was just amazing. She had a bullet wound that shattered her arm. As she is leaving the building, someone trips, she helps that person up. She grabs a private and pulls him around a dumpster as the shooter is coming out of the building. Now, mind you, none of us have weapons or gear or anything. We're just, and we're a bunch of medical people. And the first thing I remember waking up was meeting President Laura Bush. That's my first memory afterwards. My second was just realizing that I was no longer going to be deployed, so I needed to have some vet center stuff. And I had decided at that moment that I needed to have a positive attitude, because Max Cleland is a Vietnam vet. He had both legs blown off and his arm blown off, and he was told by a VA employee, you either are bitter or better. And I decided to embrace the better. I had the honor of meeting him and was able to tell him that he was my inspiration for healing. And so I had a lot of generals, and I had Admiral Mullen come through, I had Secretary Gates, I saw President Obama and Michelle Obama. My inspiration every day was to get up, take my few little steps over, and tell Specialist Johnson that it was his turn to get up. Specialist Johnson had been shot in the lungs and in the back, and he was in the ICU next to me. War, unfortunately, is for the young. And so I've decided to get out of the military. I'm just right on the verge. I'm not sure if I'm in or out right now. And my unit has been great. The VA, I had a 90% service connection within 30 days. They didn't worry about me being gay, how they treated my wife. And then I have my social worker at the VA, because I was smart enough to listen to my wife. If she ever said, you need to go talk to someone right now, I would go talk to him, and the social worker would say, what are you here for? And so we'd figure it out. But it really was very much having a lot of support from my coworkers, a lot of support from the VA, a lot of support from the military. Because I was in the reserves, I knew I was coming back to my job as a team leader of the Madison Vet Center. I actually have kind of gotten a lot of credibility. It astounds me. You go out, you get shot, and you earn all this credibility. And so when people walk in and I say, well, I was shot at Fort Hood, oh my goodness. And so people want to open up to me even that much more. The Vet Center system is nationwide. It provides counseling for combat theater veterans and their families, those who had military sexual trauma while on active duty, and they provide bereavement counseling for families who had someone die on active duty. To me, being in the Vet Center is an honor, and being able to help talk to other veterans and help other veterans is just an honor and a blessing.